So I'm a children's palliative care community nurse here in the hospital, working primarily in the community. We do a lot of work with our local hospice, so sometimes working in the hospice with our families, going out into their homes, and often if needed I work here in the hospital as well in our kind of end-of-life bereavement suite.
Well, I'm the lead for Children's Community Services and Palliative Care, so that encompasses like an umbrella over all of the children's specialist services that are out there in the community. Okay, with an overarching sort of branch that comes into the acute and out. So for the palliative side of it, I'm sort of the lead for nurse for the children's palliative team within our area.
My title, I think, is Specialist Doctor Children's Palliative Care and Community Paediatrics. I work in a district general hospital, so a local hospital, leading a local children's palliative care team where we work both with our colleagues over at the specialist hospital but also with our local children's hospice. The whole thing is about supporting children, and by that I mean babies, children, young adults and their families, and with palliative and end-of-life care. So we aim to support them in any setting they're in. And I think whereas people often think about palliative care and they think it's about dying and end of life, and it is about those really hard things, but for us it's also about enabling these children who we know their life's going to be shorter, really sadly, to live their life absolutely to the full and in the way they want to do the things they want to do, to be with the people they want to be with, in the places they want to be, and really for the medical care in that to take its place so that we're supporting the aim of them having real quality of life.
I would say the most exciting thing is being with the families. That's what drew me to the role in the first place, is being able to form those lasting relationships with the families that last throughout the young person's life, up until the very end stages of their life. Really feeling like you've made a difference to the entire family's life. That is, for me, the most exciting part. Getting to see the ins and outs of daily life. You know, it might be seeing them at school and they're really, really well, and seeing those positive parts, and also seeing them in the not so positive parts and being able to help them at those stages of their life.
Love it all. It's hard to say that for end of life and palliative care. From palliative care going into looking after the children and the families on their journey, and then at end of life to being able to just support the families. I'm just there in the background to make sure that the families are supported and they've got like an arm around them from everybody. I like working with all of the teams around us, are amazing, and it gives me great pride, and I'm humbled by my role. It's funny to say it's a privilege, but it is a real privilege to be there, and I've been there because I've got a job that I do, and do it as best as my ability. But when you're there at the end of your life, you feel that you're there as to support them, but it's a privilege. So you just take in what the parents and the family need, and it's humbling.
I love that no day is the same. Every day is so different, but I also love that I never ever get home and think, oh, that didn't matter, because it always matters. It always feels like it's really important. Mainly I love working with the children and families because they're amazing, because I see extraordinary courage in them, and we're always learning, so we really love developing our team, so we try and respond to what the child and family needs, and that is different every day, and they keep us on our toes, and I like that. But also I think it's a privilege. I often work in people's homes, so I will go into a house, sit on a sofa and talk about some of the hardest things that have to be faced, and I always go into that gently and with a lot of humility and compassion, because it is a privilege to be trusted in that circumstance to help a family support a child who we know isn't going to live a long life and where things may be very hard.
I find every case challenging, every child at the end of life care challenging, because every time it's different, and I find that there's many pathways and guidance and policies that you can follow. There's never one that fits all, because everybody's so individual. It's also challenging to manoeuvre between all the multidisciplinary teams, keeping them all like on board with plans and communication, and making sure that the child is at the centre of this and the family, and you know, making sure that when people are, you know, getting in depth about, you know, plans and symptom managements and ACPs, that actually remember there's a child and a family, and the challenge of that to bring back is an ongoing one. I mean, even for myself, but also for the wider team.
I think communication is a big challenge. I spend an enormous amount of time trying to make sure that when we have a plan for a family, that everybody can have that plan. And it is extraordinary how hard that is to do in a society where actually information is shared very easily in all other fields, but we're not quite there yet in the NHS. So yeah, I think that challenges me. But I'm that kind of person who I think, right, how can we get around this? How can we overcome it? Because what we're trying to do is so important. So
I think when I started, I was pleasantly surprised by how much support we actually got, because it was a new role to me, so I didn't know what to expect. And we get clinical supervision with our counsellor here on the children's unit.
The more senior people get, the less they will own the need for support. So one of the things I try, and it's based on my own experiences, is to be really honest about the support that I need. So at various points in my career, I once had a friend who was a psychiatrist and he would debrief me, but at other points I've had a psychologist debrief me, and we're actually just setting it up for our team now. And what's good is we've got this principle of putting it to everyone, but what's interesting is I think the nurses find that easier to step towards talking about things openly. The consultants understandably don't, because it's a profession that's set up around coping, looking strong. But I definitely believe there's much more of a strength in showing your weaknesses and what's hard. And we do team debriefs, so we sit as a team, the team who've looked after the child and family, and we talk honestly, and sometimes there are tears, sometimes there are differences of opinions and tensions, but I think that's really important. Yeah, so I think, and it's also important to have balance in life, and I've always thought that actually to bring something to a job like this, you do need to be enjoying other things in life in places which are just naturally joyful, rather than just trying to find the joy in difficult places. But yeah, no, really important, and senior colleagues can be difficult. So at the moment we've put out to everyone and we're waiting to see if the consultants take it up.
I think it's just not what you expect. I knew I was coming into the role to look after children that are palliative and also in the end stages of their life, and I knew that it was going to be sad, but actually most of the time it's really quite a happy role, because I spend a lot of time visiting patients that are still enjoying and living their lives, going out on days out with their families and going to school, and that wasn't what I expected, and that is probably my favourite part of the job, is seeing them just living. And yeah, I think that would be my message, is if you're worried that it might be too sad for you, actually those positive moments outweigh the sad bits.